They say that losing your parents, you lose your past. But losing your child, you lose your future. Hello, I'm Valerie. I'm from the Child Bereavement Support Singapore. Today, we are going to share with you stories about our loss and also how we have grown through our grief over the years. Parents hold your history, your roots, but your child, most of us project our hopes and our dreams onto our children. And when our child dies, we find that we've lost our identity as parents, we've lost our self-worth. We don't realize how connected we are to our children until we are separated from them.
Hello, I'm Lionel Lim. My wife is Sarah and our daughter is Isabel. We lost our son Max on the 18th of September 2016. This is a picture of Max.
Hi, my name is Sharon, and I will be sharing my story with you today about the loss of my son and how I raised my other children.
Today I would like to share my story of my little girl whom I lost. Her name is Ning, and I lost her when she was just a little baby. My loss started more than 20 years ago, on the 31st of December 1999, when everyone was celebrating the coming of the new millennia. My entire world fell apart. My daughter, she was 16 months at the time. She succumbed to a viral fever and very shortly she passed away in my arms. The finality of her death was very overpowering, and I felt like my heart broke into 1 million pieces. Nothing quite prepares you for that.
Max was 11 days to turning 21. He was very excited to actually celebrate his 21st birthday party with his girlfriend and his group of friends. On that fateful Sunday morning, he went for his usual soccer game, and about 40 minutes or so, he collapsed. The medical team did everything they could on the soccer pitch to the emergency room at Changi General Hospital. Sadly, they just could not revive him. I was actually golfing, and Sarah called me. Isabel was having her tuition. We all rushed down, including relatives. When I got to the hospital, his girlfriend and his soccer buddies were all there. It was really chaotic and super traumatic. Finally, the doctor in charge came out and said, Max is no longer here. The hospital gave us about an hour or so to be with him. Of course, they cleaned him up, we touched him, hugged him.
In 2016, our family lost our baby boy, Aargeet, to complex congenital heart defects. So before Aargeet was born, we already had 2 beautiful girls. They were so excited to have a little brother. My pregnancy was smooth and uneventful. Labor was quick and easy. You know, just like my other pregnancies and labor, we weren't expecting anything out of the ordinary. In fact, we were expecting to be done and back home in a couple of days. However, our lives turned upside down. when he got whisked away to the ICU within an hour after birth. And after 6 days of consulting many doctors in various hospitals, we finally received a complete diagnosis of his condition, which included different types of defects in his heart. We were shocked. No idea how this happened. And all the medical jargons that the doctors were throwing at us, we kept Googling them and researching more about it. We were trying to figure out how it happened and what can we do about it. Anyway, but there was nothing much we could do. After about 6 days, we decided and we opted for surgery, which the doctors actually told us not to do. But we couldn't not do anything. So we felt that we had to try, or that we had to try our best. So he had open heart surgery when he was 8 days old, but the recovery post-surgery was, of course, difficult. He was so tiny. We were on the edge throughout the entire time, during the surgery and after surgery, and we knew that the first 24 hours were critical, and we were hoping that he would miraculously pull through. He encountered many post-surgery complications, unfortunately, and but there were times that doctors would tell us that he's doing better, and that would get our hopes high, but the very next minute something would go wrong and we were back to square one, and we were back to being unsure about anything. Throughout the entire stay in the hospital, about a month, we tried to keep the other two girls updated as much as we could. As they were being cared for by my parents looked after them, while me and my husband actually stayed in the hospital to be as close as possible with our son. So they would come and visit us for lunch. We would take pictures of our son and we would show them. Every other day we might go back to my parents' house to shower, to get some rest, and come back to the hospital. So those were the tiny pockets that we could spend with our daughters. But we weren't very worried about them. We knew that they were being cared for by family and they were happy and safe, and we wanted to focus on our son and wanted to make sure that he could get whatever treatments that the doctors could give. So you see, although we knew from the beginning that his chances of surviving were slim, his death still came as a shock. His death still shattered us. I was there in the ICU when the doctor told me that he was gone, and I could feel every cell of my body just breaking down. But I guess life goes on, right?
I think about 3 months later, we received the official report indicating that Max's death was due to acute myocarditis. Basically, that's swelling of the heart. Max actually did not have any sort of heart issues from birth. So it was really shocking. We met up with the pathologist and he shared with us his findings. His opinion was most likely due to a viral infection.
At 33 days old, Aargeet passed away. We had to plan his funeral. I made sure that I planned it because I needed to do something for him. This was the only thing we could do for him, to plan his funeral. We got the girls to come over, not to the hospital, but to the house, and we spoke to them and we told them that their brother was gone and what to expect over the next few days. They were only 6 and 2 at this point, so I'm not really sure how much they understood, but we tried to talk to them every single step of the way so that they understood what all the rituals meant, and what it meant for him and what it meant for us.
In the weeks that followed my grief, I was thrown into a very, very dark hole, and it's like completely surreal. I had no sense of time, no clarity of purpose. I didn't know whether it was night or day, and it was such a confusing time. And the grief that I experienced was very, very much like a textbook. You know, they say that you feel anger, you feel disappointment, despair. You are thrown into all sorts of confusion, denial, disbelief, and then it repeats itself. But over the years, I've discovered that grieving is a very natural human response to separation. There's really no way to get around it. We just need to really get through it. What I've also learned is that this grief that you feel after the loss of a child is something you need to process. And when I mean process, it's like you need to discover your feelings of pain and disappointment and go through and allow your heart and your mind to feel the very uncomfortable and difficult feelings. But at the same time, you also allow yourself to feel feelings of hope and consolation, feelings of comfort and kindness from your friends. You begin to develop a new perspective in life. You do experience strength one day at a time. You find that strength to adjust to your new reality. And for me, when I lost Ning, I realized that many things were revealed to me slowly. Of course, it didn't all happen at the same time. But I realized that I could take one step forward, but perhaps 2 steps back, but then again 3 steps forward, and maybe 1 step back. But this change, this vacillation, you kind of move and you recede, but then you move again. Very, very slowly, you do make progress.
So tons of emotions, from anger, guilt, regrets, self-pity, emptiness. They come and go like the wind actually. It's actually coming to 5 years for me, and the emotions are real and so painful. September is usually the hardest month to manage. I made a promise to Max at his funeral wake that I will do my very best to look after his mother and his sister. Actually, this has been my driving force till today. Of course, one of the things that I learned was to be gentle with myself, and I also told myself to be extra patient. It was really challenging to manage everyone's emotions in the early days, including my own. As a man, I felt the need to actually hold my wife, my daughter, my mother-in-law. She actually looked after the 2 kids when they were born. So it was really overwhelming at times, crying, but trying to hide all these emotions. Sarah and I became a little paranoid for Isabel's well-being, so much so that I think she felt stifled and irritated. We had to really explain our concerns, our anxieties, and learn to come to some compromise. The grief journey for both parents and even for if there's any siblings are very different. Okay, I think there's no correct way. There is no one way. Okay, we just have to try and slowly manage it on our own with each other's support. I learned to take baby steps for each task. It took me a few months to go back to playing a golf game. I felt so much guilt on my first game. Sometime in 2018, I decided to go with my golf buddies to Kunming. It was the first time for many of us. I thought I was emotionally stronger, but I was so wrong. When I was there, I think missing Sarah and Isabel with thoughts of Max not around, it was really, really tough to manage. Another thing that helps me is I actually indulge in exercises, usually in the very early morning. I found this to be helpful because it became my own private time. It gave me the opportunity to cry or to laugh with the many moments that I had with Max. I'm doing sales. I went back to work after 1 week of Max's passing, and I also took things very slow and easy. I have grown stronger, and I take it upon myself to share this with my customers because I think it is important for them to hear it from me rather than from a third party, so that they know that yes, such a thing has happened, but I'm all right and I'm learning to deal with it.
And over the years, what I have discovered is that one of the more helpful things in going through a very difficult time is you need a support team. That was one of the first things that I experienced. It was a very natural evolution, so to speak. When you're in need, your friends, your family come and offer you support. But the real support team, and you only need maybe 1 or 2 people, are the real supporters that walk with you through this journey. And I was really very fortunate to have the help of my spouse, my husband, my mom, 1 or 2 very good friends, and they would allow me to wallow in my sorrow or allow me to be in my room, but they also knew when to take me out, to ask me out for a walk, to feed me, to just sit with me, and that was very, very helpful. But in the early days, the hopelessness that I felt was really palpable. I could just feel it. You could even cut through this hopelessness that you wake up to every morning. You just felt uninspired to move forward, but because you have that support team, they are the ones who would hold on to hope for you. They would allow you to be yourself until you're ready to hold on for yourself. That was really very helpful for me to have my little support team. The other thing that I felt very fortunate about was I discovered that this grief is a very, very personal thing. You know, you might have people walking with you, you might have your support team, but in the end, you need to do something for yourself. You need to go and walk through this path.
Sarah found this support group for grieving parents, Child Bereavement Support Singapore, CBSS for short. We attended the first one, and we've been coming ever since. Of course, in lieu of the COVID, we now meet online. Usually it's held once a month, about 2 hours for the session, and the participants are all bereaved parents. We feel that it's a safe space for us to share our stories, say our child's name. We found it very helpful and comforting to date. We also appreciated Max's close friends, especially his soccer buddies. They've been very supportive of us. In fact, they organized a memorial soccer game for him on the first anniversary. They observed a minute of silence. It gave us a lot of strength and comfort. And they have actually been doing this consecutively for 3 years. Unfortunately, last year they couldn't due to the COVID. And they continue to visit us on the major occasions, share the encounters they had with Max, and somehow this brings comfort and, I dare say, healing to a certain degree. Another area that actually I think has helped us is we agreed, we meaning Sarah, Isabel and I, we agreed to keep Max's urn at home in his room. This allowed us to spend somehow the closeness and the time with him. Sarah spends a lot of time in his room writing her journal. It's like talking to him. I also speak to him from time to time, and I will always tell him that I'm coping as best as I can to look after the family. Please help me when you are free. So this has really helped me personally. As a husband and a father, I was feeling very sorry for my wife and my daughter. I wish I can lessen the pain. But I'm very thankful and proud of them of doing their best to write the journey together. Isabel was 1 month to sitting for her GCE O-levels when Brother Max passed on. And I'm very proud of the way she's holding up, staying focused and trying to pursue the things that she wants to do in life.
I realized one day that I could make choices for myself. It wasn't very easy for me to suddenly decide that I wanted to do this or that. But when Ning passed away, I remember asking myself, so what next? What do you want to do now that she's gone? And of course, in the early days, I really had no answer, and my head was just spinning and everything was confusing. But through time, you get some clarity. You do allow yourself to think through what next. And for me, the what next was I decided to wake up and make my bed. And it was a very simple goal, but it was a first step. Because at the time, after you lose someone you love so much, you find that you don't want to do anything. You don't want to wake up. You don't even want to go and bathe. You don't want to eat. You don't want to do anything. And sleeping is very, very scary. For me, it was very scary because you get these really sad dreams. But after a while, you realize that you can do something for yourself. What I was saying about time just now, one of the very important things about time is that it allows you the space to also build new memories with the loved ones that you have with you. And that's important. In the beginning, I was very afraid that when I have new memories, I would forget my daughter. But you never forget someone you love. And when I had my son, shortly after Ning passed away, you see, when she passed away, she was my only child, and I didn't have anybody else. I decided I really wanted to be a parent again. And so when my son was born to me, I was really totally, completely over the moon. My pregnancy was difficult, and you can imagine the anxiety I had just carrying him. But I was blessed, and he was born to me shortly after she passed away, and later I also had another son. So I have 2 boys now, and I actually named them very specifically to bring out my experience that I've had. Ning's name is Peace, and she brought so much peace and comfort to me when she was with us. When she passed away, of course, everything fell apart. So when my son was born, I named him Noah, and Noah means comfort. And my other son, Toby, he's named after a character in the Bible that walks with an angel. So I try to incorporate Ning into their lives. So they all grew up knowing that she is their sister. And over the years, we developed, beautiful memories, but she's always a part of it because they grew up playing with her toys, wearing her t-shirts, and they are very, very knowing that she's part of the family.
So when Aargeet passed away, and while we were planning the funeral, so my husband and I, we spoke to each other. We agreed on one thing. We agreed that he's gone and that he no longer needed us to be with him 24/7. There was nothing we could do for him. He is very capable of taking care of himself, I guess. So, but what we had was we had these 2 other girls, and we decided to, we need to now focus on them and take care of them. Besides taking care of my girls, I had nothing else left to look for. It was also very tough in the beginning because I myself was trying to process everything that had happened, but at the same time trying to be there, mother my children, making sure that they are fed, they go to school, they come back, they do their homework, they have playtime. I mean, I would function normally during the day, and then at night when they're asleep, that is the time when you're just physically tired from the whole activities of the day and mentally tired. And I would take that time to focus on our son, trying to process and trying to wonder what was it that I did, especially as a mom, because I carried him for 9 months. If there was anything that I could have done differently, any treatments that we could have looked out for. But of course, These are all thoughts that run through your mind, but there's actually nothing you can do about it. You can't change anything. It comes to a certain point where you need to tell yourself, or at least I told myself, that it is okay. Actually, it is okay to think about all this, but it is also okay to, just wake up and have a good life. Now we had pictures of the girls as babies in our living room, and we decided to just print his picture out as well, and it's there in our living room, so everybody who comes to the house, they see his picture and we talk about him. Of course, it's a bit easier now that it's been about 5 years, but the girls would also chime in. They would also tell stories about their brother, especially the only time he was in the hospital, of course. Every year on his birthday, and we would light a candle for him as a family together, and the girls would write messages on the candles for him, and we do the same on his angelversary, which is his death anniversary. So these are the actually 2 very important dates in my life, as well as all the other dates and anniversaries, and we do it together as a family to create a ritual and to create a bond between us and him, although he's no longer here, but he is still very much part of the family. We talk about him all the time. We believe that such acts actually brings us closer to him and brings him closer to us. And moving forward, I hope it's a ritual, or I hope that it's an act that maybe the girls will carry on one day after we are gone. But even if they don't light the candle, I know that for sure they will always, always, always remember their brother. Time goes on, and we had another baby after Aargeet, so we had another little baby girl, and now the older sisters tell her stories about her brother, and she's only 2 right now, so I'm not sure what she understands, but I know that they will continue telling stories, and that she will grow up and she will know and she will get to know her brother through them and through us. Now we are actually a very picture perfect family. If you see us down the road, we could be cycling next to you, or we could be in the mall shopping next to you. The girls are very busy. They are 11, 7 and 3 right now. So they have tuition, they have school, they have friends, we have play dates, we go to the park. So it's actually a very normal life that we live, and there is joy and happiness. The girls bring me so much joy and so much happiness, but there'll always be one part of me that always wishes that he was also here with us. But sometimes I feel like he is. Through it all, I know, or at least I feel, and that gives me comfort, that he's always here with us, he's always watching us, and he's always looking out for us, because I feel all the little blessings that come through our way actually comes from him.
I agreed to participate in this project by Grief Matters for 3 reasons. Firstly, hopefully by sharing my story, it can allow people with a similar situation to know that they are not alone. We can actually try and support each other in this lifelong grief journey together. Secondly, I also hope to give people a deeper understanding of the behavior and the emotions of a grieving parent. Thirdly, I think there's no shame, weakness to talk about our loss. And it's all right actually to seek help, especially for our mental well-being, and more so, I think perhaps from a man's perspective.
I just decided one goal at a time. And so the next day I decided I'll do my groceries. That was another small goal. And I kept going and going and, you know, building up small little goals for the day until I was strong enough to say to myself, I think I want to choose to live well. Of course, it's if you're newly bereaved and you hear me talk like that, you're probably thinking that I'm crazy. But I just want you to know that it is possible. You can do something for yourself and you can live well again. Of course, not immediately. So throughout my grief and despair, because I received so much kindness and love from friends, from strangers, this made me realize that you can live in a way that reflects the goodness that people have shown you. And over the years, I've developed a new purpose, you know, in my life. As I was saying, you see life differently. You are more thankful for things, and that gratitude, I feel I want to pay it forward. And so together with a group of friends who themselves have lost their children, the Child Bereavement Support Singapore was born. And so now I realize that growing through my grief, there's sadness, but the grief can also be life-giving. And this life-giving part of this journey is what I call collateral beauty. You know, collateral beauty is a term that I've discovered where when you keep your heart, your broken heart open, you allow kindness and love to enter the cracks. And you also allow humility and grace to keep your heart going. And that beauty in life is a special one. It is born out of despair, but it is also life-giving.
So we continue to make new memories for ourselves, but always having Max in our hearts.
Yeah, and I hope that you find some comfort or strength or hope from our stories, from my story, and know that there are always others out there, and you can reach out to us. Always reach out for help.
So in living through my grief, I miss my daughter so much, but she's with me every step of the way, and now she is very much a part of my life in a redefined way. You know, I have learned to accept, to adjust, and to live life in a different way, but absolutely with her, always. Thank you.